I've finally seen Project Hail Mary after spending the last few weeks trying my best not to hear anything about the film. Plot details, reviews, the lot. I even shut my eyes during the trailers when the last time I went to the cinema because I really wanted to go that far not to see anything. I literally came out of the film about an hour ago, rushed home, put some of my thoughts down, and now I'm going to give you my review of the film. I haven't read the book, so I really wanted to go in blind, enjoy the film knowing nothing at all. First off, spoiler warning, I am going to go into what happens in the film, so if you don't want to know what happens, I recommend watching this after you've seen it. As a really brief overview of what it's about, Ryan Reynolds is a science teacher, Ryland Grace, who wakes up on a spaceship with no recollection of who he is or how he got there. As his memory slowly returns, he soon discovers he must solve the riddle behind a mysterious substance that's causing the sun to die out. As details of the mission unravel, he calls on his scientific training and sheer ingenuity, but he may not have done it all alone. So the film's directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the writing, directing, producing partnership behind some of the biggest films of the last 15 years. So the Lego Movie, 21 and 22 Jump Street, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and they also produced Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. So they're very experienced filmmakers, so you know you're in good hands. The film does well at introducing us to the world and its characters, flicking between Ryan Gosling as this lone astronaut with no memory of how he got onto the spaceship, and him as a teacher back on Earth where everyone is trying to understand how and why the sun is dying. Science fiction films have to spend a lot of time establishing the reasons why things are going on and why we're going on this big space mission, and they do this quite well. It never feels too expositional, even though it needs to explain things, obviously, so we all understand what's going on. We also meet Sandra Huller's character, a straight-faced government agent type, who plays really well opposite Gosling. One of the most enjoyable characters is also Officer Carl, played by Lionel Boyce. Both their straight-faced performances opposite Gosling makes for a lot of fun. Ryan Gosling has this really weird ability where he can play a kind of straight character or a straight film, not technically a comedy, but he's able to do it in a way that kind of brings levity to the role whilst also being able to have those emotional moments. So he was perfect for this lead role and kind of carries the film in many ways, considering he's the main focus of it as well. The reveal of who Gosling meets in space is kind of strange, and you're not sure whether to laugh or be scared. It's basically a rock, and it's called Rocky, which is strange, but I guess it makes sense. I have to say that during this first part, the film really falls into a bit of a slow patch at this point as Gosling starts to talk and learn about Rocky. Some of it doesn't quite make sense, like we know that Grace can understand Rocky, but how can Rocky understand Grace? He doesn't have a computer translating for him, and we never hear Grace using his computer to do this, so I'm guessing that's how they do it, but they never explain it. Something I found quite interesting is that there really isn't any conflict or bad things happening for the first half of the film. Everything seems to be going really well. He's getting on with his new friend Rocky. There's no harm to anyone. Of course, that changes later on when they try to go onto the planet Tower Ceti, and this is when it gives kind of big Martian vibes, interstellar vibes. There's already been a lot of that earlier on in the film with things like the spacewalking, calls back to a lot of the parts of the Martian, for example. It never comes off as gimmicky or just copying, though it's done really well, but you can definitely see the inspiration for that. There's some clear other inspirations like Silent Running in 2001. There's a very specific sequence in the film where we see Grace's face and it's almost exactly the same as the scene from 2001, so those films have to be mentioned as part of this. I've seen a lot of people giving this film a really high rating, and I definitely enjoyed it myself, but I don't think I'll go as far as some of those giving it 5 out of 5, for example. Although it's based on a book, it's good to see something kind of new, refreshing, particularly in the science fiction genre. I think it could be really difficult for it to feel fresh and original in this genre because we have so many great sci-fi films already. It's hard to come up with kind of new, bold stories that surprise audiences, so it does a really good job in that sense while still hitting a lot of the same plot points that you would expect from the films like Gravity or Interstellar, The Martian. But it does a really good job of kind of keeping us engaged as well. Films like 2001 often get a bit of criticism for not being very emotional in comparison to films like Silent Running, and that's really where Project Hail Mary is more in line in comparison to a film like Silent Running. You can definitely feel Project Hail Mary is intended to bring that emotional sense to the audience, and there are a lot of moments where a tear could be shed. But to be honest, I think I really struggled with the fact that the second lead character is a rock. Like, how do you want me to shed a tear over a rock and a guy wearing a knitted cardigan? It was just a little bit difficult for me. So I can understand why many other people will be kind of finding it emotional, but for me, it just didn't boil over to make it that really kind of 10 out of 10 film, 5 out of 5, whatever you want to call it, just on that emotional side. Overall, I would give this around a 3.5, 4 stars out of 5. It was a little long, clocking in around 2 hours, 36, 37 minutes. And some of the middle scenes, as I mentioned, when Ryan Gosling and The Rock are getting to know each other, kind of drag slightly, but I did thoroughly enjoy myself. It was nice being an almost sold out viewing in the middle of the day on a Saturday. I hope people show up to this film. I hope they support it. I hope it makes a lot of money. We need more films like this. I think a lot of people are going to come out and say a lot of outlandish things about this film. Maybe that it's going to be one of the best films of the year. I'm really not sure about that. I'm glad that people are enjoying it that much, but I think if they start saying that, then that's going to be quite a bit overhyped. Personally, I'd have this, as I said, in the 3.5, 4 stars out of 5 range, which makes it a strong film, but nowhere near contender for Film of the Year. Let me know what you thought of the film down in the comments below. Like and subscribe for more content like this. Plenty more great films coming out this year. Plenty more reviews coming.